Hello, and welcome to another episode of Search Off the Record, a podcast coming to you from the Google Search team, discussing all things search and having some fun along the way. My name is John, and I'm joined today by Lizzie and Gary from the Search Relations team, of which I'm also a part of. One of the questions I often see is around getting staging sites removed. So it reminded me that maybe launching a website might be an interesting topic to talk about. I mean, every website has to launch somehow, right? So what do you think, Lizzie and Gary? Is this a useful topic?
What?
I'm waiting for you. You speak first.
Oh, I do that first. Okay.
You go.
Okay. Well, have you considered maybe twisting the topic into how not to remove a staging site at all? As in, like, don't let it get indexed in the first place?
Oh, avoid doing it.
Yeah.
So don't launch.
No, launch. Just don't get your staging site in search.
Don't launch the staging site.
Yes.
You launched the wrong one.
So don't try things out. Just hit the launch button and close your eyes.
Launch directly into production. Okay. No staging.
You can do that.
I can do that.
I mean, we did that.
I don't know. It always feels like site launches can be a bit scary especially for newer businesses, because it's like the first time you stick your head out. So I don't know. What do you think? Is this a big thing from an SEO point of view?
I think this is interesting compared to our last episode about migrations, because what is the difference between a site launch and migration? Like, are site launches, like, how would we define a site launch? Is it brand new, you never had anything before? Or is anything new, like, I guess you could say that a rebrand or a migration is a launch, but when we talk about site launches, are we talking about new, never existed before things?
I think you could say that they're kind of related, but there's always, I don't know, how do you separate that out? And I think we talked about migrations a bit already, so might make sense to talk more about the, like, starting part. And I mean, as a business online, like if you're listening to this podcast, my guess is you already have a website. So it's not that's like your first time launching something, but maybe you're launching like a feature or a specific part of a website or something additional in addition to the existing website. So you already kind of have some idea what is happening. Because I think if you've never worked on a website before and it's like, oh, how do I launch a website? You probably click that launch button accidentally and then it's live. And then it's like, well, that was easy.
Oh, so launching sites has become too easy.
Well, I think if you're using a common hosting platform, it's like you basically
easy.
Click save and then it's live, right?
Yeah.
It's like launched.
Yeah.
And it's only after you've noticed that maybe you shouldn't have done that so quickly that you realize maybe I should think about this before clicking that button.
Who are the people having the problem with the staging servers stuff? Because if you're like using Squarespace or Wix or something like that, that's taken care of by them, right?
I guess. I haven't actually used them.
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
I don't know. Have you?
I imagine if you are using a custom CMS or in-house CMS, then you will run into this problem. But you can also run into this problem if you have technically two domain names or two host names, and then on one you are just testing the design and whatnot, and then you port that over to your main site eventually. And you could do that on Squarespace and other platforms as well, like on WordPress.com. And these issues are the ones that we commonly saw in the forums and on Twitter, where people are like, hey, I was testing my new setup here and it got indexed. What now?
Oh, like from a custom CMS thing or from like Squarespace?
Oh, maybe we should just not single out Squarespace because.
Okay, sorry. It's gonna sound like we're promoting them. Google Sites.
But
Blogger.
no, but it's not that. It's just it can happen on any CMS. Like regardless if it's Squarespace or Google Sites or whatever.
Sure.
Because technically you can get two host names, like two accounts perhaps, or whatever the setup is on these CMSs, and then test on one and then launch on the other one. And you can certainly get accidentally the staging one, the testing one indexed.
And I guess you'd have this set up if you're working with multiple people together on a website. Like if you're the only person working on your website, and if you're happy, you click the button. But if you have multiple people and you want to get feedback from them, you have to show it to them somehow. And it could be that you like gather around the one big monitor in the office, but more likely people will look at it on their own or want to test it on, I don't know, a phone and a laptop and try things out.
Is it better to do staging site or password protection for that?
Yes.
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 Okay.
I'm so helpful.
I mean, those can be the same thing, right?
Yes. But I guess so from our perspective, it doesn't matter.
I mean, we've talked about staging sites before, and it's more that you need to somehow prevent search engines from being able to index that content. And using password protection is a great way to do that because it also prevents random other people from the internet of taking a look, which maybe you care about, maybe you don't care about. Like if you're launching some fancy new feature in Google or in other places, it's like you probably want to keep that to yourself until it's ready.
Really?
Yeah,
It never happened to us that someone...
You don't want to leak on purpose?
No.
No.
I mean, well, at least within Google, maybe it's better not to. I remember fun stories from back in the Google Plus days because Google Plus was, of course, the best thing at Google ever.
What happened? What happened in the Google Plus days?
We would try to launch new features, and of course, it was mentioned in a JavaScript somewhere or in some HTML files somewhere. And there were smart people out there looking at stuff, and they noticed that ahead of time. So it's like, I don't know, all of these subtle ways of accidentally leaking things.
I think when I first joined the project, our team project, like search, I don't know. One of the first things that I published was a structured data pilot partner, I don't know, protected thing. And we published the document. The page itself was blocked just for the partners that were supposed to see it. But the name of the feature, it was exposed in the table of contents on the side, and that thing didn't have an allow list to block it. So people saw that and they were like, oh, what's that thing? The name of that feature, and there's no page and the link doesn't work.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have the page, you think you're doing the right thing with the page, sometimes it can get exposed in other ways, but...
Big company problems. I think that's really hard to avoid, but we haven't had that in a long time. I don't know. You two launched the status dashboard. How did you do that? Were you hiding it away to prevent bloggers and SEO journalists from finding it?
No.
No. We did the absolute nothing. Like quite literally nothing.
What? What do you mean absolute nothing?
Just like publish it and like no one noticed for like months. Until we announced it.
Wow.
So it's like if you are not linking to something on the internet, then it's very hard to notice it. Or you are not mentioning it anywhere. And that's what we were doing, not mentioning it anywhere. Not linking to it, not having it in random JavaScript files. And by the way, this is one more reason not to use JavaScript. And it just worked. It was risky, I would say.
There's no sitemap for that site, so it didn't get submitted anywhere. And we claimed it in the Search Console. We claimed it, and it didn't get indexed, so no other way for people to find it.
Okay.
Wait, what's the relation between...
The relation was that we're monitoring it, and it still didn't get found from like some other way. Like it didn't get indexed, even though it's a live site floating around on the internet. And like we didn't link to it, but maybe, I don't know, the domain we're sitting on had a sitemap that submitted it, and then Google found out about it. Still did not find out about it.
Right, but technically the internet is kind of like the deep space.
Yeah.
Basically, you can go light years in a straight line, and you are not going to hit literally anything. And the same goes for unlinked resources on the internet. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you don't mention it, then it's fairly impossible to find it. Like from Google's perspective, like we are looking at domain records for discovery, but that also just means that we would discover the domain name, not the subdomains. Well, depending how the DNS is set up.
Oh.
So, for example, if you are broadcasting in the DNS records the CNAMEs that you set up for the CNAMEs are a special record for in DNS, which allows you to map custom authority bits to IP addresses. So you could do subdomain.example.com maps to example.com, and then the server would know that when the authority bit is subdomain.example.com, then serve one specific resource on the server. And you can set up your DNS to advertise these CNAME records. And then we might be able to discover them. But if the DNS is set up, I would say properly, then these are not advertised. So basically, you just get the A record, which is the main record for a domain name, basically maps the domain name to the server's IP address. And that's how our domain names typically are set up. Basically, just the A record when you are asking for the domain record, not all the other subdomains as well.
So we're kind of lucky we didn't use searchstatusdashboard.google.com and instead use a long, obscure subdomain.
Wait, isn't this a subdomain though?
Well, if you use like one word or dashes in the domain name or something.
I don't think that would have mattered because we just don't advertise our subdomains in general.
Right.
Yeah, but if we use the domain name instead.
You mean if we went and got like status.com or something, like some other brand new domain?
Yeah, if we launched with a brand new domain, then yeah, that would have probably leaked it.
So do you think, looking back, that was risky? Like, should we have blocked it somehow? Or you're kind of the mind, like, if someone finds it, then we'll talk about it. It's no big deal.
Honestly, it was risky in the sense that we wouldn't have been able to control the launch the way we wanted. But there was no risk otherwise. So if it's leaked, then it's leaked. And that's it. Basically, then we have the blog post ready and we just publish it and that's it. So I don't think we cared all that much if it's leaked or not. So we didn't go to lengths to protect it from people's eyes, I guess.
We also initially wanted to launch when there was an issue. And so to have it not be, I don't know, extra steps to talk about it, I think helps. So we were able to use the tool like right away.
It would have been really helpful if we did have an incident.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's now helpful to have incidents.
No, it's like a boring status dashboard is the best status dashboard.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to using it for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe I should break something.
I guess this is similar with a lot of small businesses where when they're starting out, they put their website online. Like, if people find it, fine. If they don't find it, fine. And at some point they'll promote it and then they hope it actually gets found, right? It's not like if you're opening, I don't know, a new cupcake store downtown, like if that domain or that website gets leaked ahead of time, it's not terrible, right?
I guess it would be annoying if they're trying to like order cupcakes from you and you don't have like cupcakes made.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I guess you would deal with that problem as it's coming. And that people are really excited about this cupcake place.
I guess we could have put a no index on the pages, or was it just like from a technical point of view not possible?
From our perspective, that was not possible. Like, we could have blocked it with robots.txt, but then that was like, why? And no index, that was just not possible because the site or the CMS we are using is extremely static, as in pretty much unmodifiable. Like what you see on the dashboard, that is the same thing that you see on all other dashboards as well. And the reason you see the same things is because we can modify the dashboard. And the reason behind that is that we need to have the simplest version of a functioning site so the status dashboard doesn't break.
Okay. No SEO tricks.
Yeah, there's nothing that you can do that would alter the site in any shape or form. Well, beyond the incidents themselves. So if I launched a new site and I wanted to not show up in search at all, then I would probably just go with robots.txt because that's super simple. And for the I know that people are afraid of robots.txt for preventing indexing, but for the vast majority of the cases, it actually works because we can't possibly know what's in the pages because we can't crawl them, right? So we can't make an indexing decision about the URL. Like at that point, we are not talking about the content. We can't make an indexing decision about the URL. So we would need some external hints about what's in the URL, which means we need a considerable amount of links with proper anchor text from where we can assume the importance of that page on the internet. And if you don't have that, then why would we index it?
So with your new site, you wouldn't be concerned about, I guess, how else would other people find it? That's kind of saying that search is like the only way that people would find your thing.
If I don't advertise it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I guess as soon as you promote it, then it's
right.
Like you would drop the robots text and let it get indexed and do whatever else to make a big party.
Yeah, I would probably drop the robots.txt and then go to Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools and other search engines tools and submit for indexing. The home page probably, and maybe a few more pages that I consider important, and then just wait.
Okay.
Did you do that for the status dashboard?
No, because we didn't need to, and also I didn't care.
I mean, I looked at a lot of new companies and businesses from the last years, trying to find some examples of site launches that I could say like, oh, look at these people doing their site launch thing. And it seems like most of the more well-known businesses, even the online-based ones, they're kind of like the kind of sites where it's like, well, they will launch, they will promote it, but they're not launching it for SEO purposes. Like they have some cool functionality that they're trying to sell, and then it's not like an SEO focused launch. It's more a business focused launch. That kind of aligns, I think, with the status dashboard as well, where it's not like we need to have this found in search right away, but rather we need to get this functionality out and promote the functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no index, probably that would be the second choice, because then you don't have to mess with like a separate file, but then you have to mess with every single page that you need to prevent from indexing. For most CMSs, that's doable. Like WordPress, I imagine that can do it, because there you can tinker with everything. I don't actually know other CMSs.
Squarespace.
Yeah, but I don't know what can you do?
Oh, know them in a functionality perspective.
Yeah, the functionality of the admin interfaces. So if you put a no index on the pages, then it will absolutely not get indexed, especially if you don't mock up the head element somehow.
Cool.
And then if you need a staging site, then I would probably do the same thing. Robots.txt or no index.
Or passwords.
Or password, yeah. Oh, we also saw IP blocks.
Oh.
Okay.
Or actually IP allow lists.
Interesting.
So basically, if you matched a particular IP, then you could access the staging site, otherwise not.
So really locked down.
Yeah. That's probably similar to our infrastructure as well. Like we could do that on certain things. I think that's more complicated, perhaps. And you might need someone with some server management knowledge to make that happen. Plus, I don't know how many people pay for static IP addresses for their home network anymore.
I just remember the static IP addresses stuff in setting up servers, where I would only allow my IP address to have access to the server's backend. And then, of course, my IP address changed. And it was like,
yep.
Well, goodbye, server.
Yep. I did literally the same thing. And it took me like a week to figure out what happened.
Oh my God. What if you have a ton of content that you want to launch at the same time? Like, I don't know, a bunch of products, or you have a knowledge base where you have 1,000 articles in there and you just want to launch them.
1,000?
Yeah, it's like you've worked a really long time and now you're like, we will make a big splash now. Do you launch it all at once, or do you do it step by step? What would you recommend?
I guess it really depends on the number.
7,000.
7, I like that number. I imagine if your server is well resourced, then it probably doesn't matter all that much. Meaning that if the server has resources to handle extra crawling, and by extra probably 1,000-fold more, then it shouldn't be a problem to launch 7,000 articles at once. But you can also bring your server to its knees quite easily with that.
That also just seems like a lot to QA.
Oh, to test out ahead of time.
I don't know. Yeah, just to make sure it's all like rolling it out, like from that perspective of like, yep, everything looks good. Check. Just a lot of pages.
Yeah. I mean, it could also be like you're putting a business online. Like you've had an offline store for a long time. You've kind of scanned all your products. They're all ready. It's like you want to put your shop online kind of thing. But it sounds like a couple thousand pages is like, well, like Google will be busy for a bit, but it's not going to be a problem. And probably if you have millions of pages, then that sounds suspicious.
Oh, then you're screwed.
This is crazy. I don't know.
So we also had this weird thing in the forums a while back. Okay, I will admit that I haven't been to the forums for years, but
no.
But when we were frequenting the forums more, then every now and then you saw these threads where spammyguy.com came there and like suddenly we want to index 1 million pages and what's happening because like Google just wouldn't take them. Like why? And then the answer would be like, well, there are two reasons. One is that you have 1 million pages and we can crawl from your server without putting it on its knees, maybe 1,000 URLs per day. Second, your site just sucks.
Well, where'd you get all those URLs? Like, that's a lot. Like, is that also suspicious? 1 million? Like, is it suspicious behavior to like publish that many at once? Or no?
I don't think that would be a big problem. But the quality of the content, that's certainly something that will affect indexing. And also generating like 1 million URLs with unique, I'm air quoting here, unique content is not that hard. It wasn't hard 20 years ago. It's especially not hard nowadays with all the large language models floating around.
Right. Okay. But for it to be good, I guess.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other question I sometimes get is, should people use kind of like a free host name that they get with their hosting provider?
Nope.
Like spammyguy.blogger.com, or should they get a domain name?
It depends.
Oh, no.
I mean, it depends on your business needs, right? Like, do you want to create your own brandy thingy, or you are fine with carrying a Blogspot or WordPress brand with your site?
Yeah.
Like, usually, if I go to, for example, Etsy, then the one thing that I will remember is that the thing that I found was on Etsy.com. To me, that's not that helpful, and probably not that helpful for the business as well, because I can't remember them. Alas, I'm old, so my memory is not that good as it used to be, but maybe young people can actually remember those things, but I cannot. If it were something like spammyguy.com, then I would remember that, because then I have no other choice than to remember the actual domain name.
So something branded, especially, I guess, if you're trying to be present for the long term.
Right. But then it also depends on what you are doing with that domain name. Because, for example, if you are just, like, it will be a throwaway site, as in, like, you have a promotion and it will last, I don't know, 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. And then you launch it for that promotion and then you take it down. Like, in that case, it doesn't matter.
Because no one's paying attention to the domain name, or you don't need to build that recognition, I guess, for that, whatever that was, for 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's more likely that you are linking to it than that you are relying on people remembering and coming back to the site.
Okay, cool.
Why are we talking about marketing now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's all connected, right?
So Google cares about brands, you're saying.
Oh, God.
Branding.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, but it's like, if you want to show up for your brand name, then like you should choose a good brand name and not like a name that is closely related to another brand by one letter.
Yeah.
Well, it depends what you want to do.
It depends. Oh my God.
Maybe you want to rank for It Depends.
.com. It depends. Hey, that's trademarked, actually. I looked it up. Somebody owns the trademark for It Depends.
Wow. Okay.
How did they get trademark for that?
I don't know.
Well, I guess they'll get lots of traffic now.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, I thought this was fun and useful. Thanks for joining, you two.
You're welcome.
We've been having fun with these podcast episodes. I hope you, the listener, have found them both entertaining and insightful too. Feel free to drop us a note on Twitter at Google Search C or chat with us at one of the next events that we go to if you have any thoughts. And, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, folks, for listening, and goodbye.
Bye. Bye, Gary.
Oh, bye.